Hi guys, we're back with the notes. For 7.4, we're going to be factoring all methods. So nothing new is happening. All we're doing is we're taking 7.1 GCFs and putting it together with 7.2, the T in the box. So if you'll pause the screen, write what you see, we'll get started. Perfect. All right, so the first thing that we're going to look for on every single problem is, do they have a GCF? Not every problem is going to have one, but that's the first thing we're looking for. So let's look in problem 1. If I'm going to divide all of these terms by a GCF, I'm looking for the number they can be divided by. The smallest number I see is 3, and by coincidence, he divides out of all of them. My GCF is only going to be 3 because there is no x in here with the 18, so there's no variables in it. Okay. My next line is going to be to write out my GCF, 3, and my leftover, so I need to divide. If I take the first term divided by 3, I get an x squared. Negative 15x divided by 3 is negative 5x. 18 divided by 3 is 6. From here, now we're going to go back to what we were doing in 7.2 and 7.3. We're going to make a T in a box, but we are only going to use the yellow part. So that 3 is going to stay, and my leftovers are going to split into my factors. Okay? So let's do a T in a box. On my T, we're going to put the 6. Again, it's coming out of the inside of the leftovers. Going to make my list 1 and 6, negative 1, negative 6, 2 and 3, negative 2, negative 3. The pair that adds up to negative 5 is this set, negative 2 and negative 3, and we can move them into the box. So negative 2x and negative 3x came from my T. I'm going to take the first term in my leftovers, that's x squared, and my last term in the leftovers, 6. From here, we know how to solve. I'm going to put an x and an x to make x squared, a negative 3 as his partner on top, and a negative 2 on bottom. It does not matter which pair you list first. I'm going to use x minus 2 and x minus 3. And notice, to make the full answer, it's very important that I keep this GCF on the outside. Okay? That's the end of problem 1. So the only extra step you're doing today is putting the leftovers and the GCF first and then factoring from there. Okay? All right, let's go ahead. We're going to skip number 2. And let's try number 3. Problem number 3. First thing I'm going to look for is, can I divide a GCF, that smaller number? So can I divide by 8? No. So I'm going to make a quick little T-chart. My factors of 8 are 1 and 8, 2 and 4. So if 8 doesn't work, can I divide everything by 4? No. If 4 doesn't work, can I divide everything by 2? Yes. So I'm going to divide out a 2. But I notice that they also have an x in common. If they have an x in common, I have to look how many. Well, the 18 only has one x, so I can only take 1 out. Let's write that out. 2x is my GCF. That means that 4x squared and minus 9, those are my leftovers. Okay? Now it's time to break my leftovers into extra factors. So I'm keeping my GCF, but my leftovers are going to make 2 factors. I'm going to make my T-chart for the leftovers. Make sure you are not using negative 9. We need to multiply our first term, 4x, times our last term in the leftovers, negative 9, making negative 36. I'm going to make a small note. Give me just a second. Remember that when there is no middle number, we need to square root. We're going to square root that 36, not negative, because you can't square root a negative, but we're going to square root 36. That guarantees that we get the same number on both sides. We're going to get our 6. But we know that they need to cancel. We need the middle term to be a 0. The only way to do that is 1 negative and 1 positive. Okay? Once I get my T-chart numbers, I'm going to move into the box. We have our negative 6x and our 6x. And I'm going back to the leftovers. My first term is 4x squared. My last term is negative 9. I'm in the yellow in the parentheses. Remember that when we're doing a difference of squares, we need them to be the same. That's the whole reason we did the square root, right? Okay, so we're going to do 2 and 2. Make sure you put an x with them. We need to make 6, so that makes a 3 and a 3, except we want them to cancel. So this bottom 3 is going to be negative. Okay? Again, order in the parentheses doesn't matter. I'm going to do 2x minus 3, 2x plus 3, and it's very important that the GCF of 2x stays on the outside. Okay? Once you have that problem written down, we're going to go ahead and look at number 4. All right, same thing again. We're going to look for a GCF. I'm going to try the smallest number, 5. Does 5 divide by everything? Or divide out of everything? Yes. So I'm going to divide by 5. Do they all have x's? Yes. Since 60 only has 1, then I can only take 1 out in my GCF. So let's write it out. I got 5x. That leaves me with x squared minus 8x plus 12. We are only factoring now from that leftover. I'm going to go ahead and make my t. Remember, this is 1 times 12 makes 12, and we're listing out our factors. You can either do this with me or you can listen and then copy. All right, there's all of our factors of of positive 12. So we want the pair that adds up to -8. That's going to be -2 and -6. I'm going to make sure that I write out a space where my 2 factors are going to go so that I can get ready for my final answer. Let's plug in our box. We had a -2x and a -6x. That's what makes -8. From my leftovers, we're taking the first term x squared and the last term 12. This one's super easy for us because it's a plain x squared. We know x and x, and we just copy those corner numbers. Okay? Now, on the quiz, I need you to make sure that you know in this answer, it is not just x minus 2 and x minus 6. It's very important that you make sure you keep this GCF on the outside. So if you don't have 5x out here, you would not get full credit. Okay? Take a second to write that down. If you haven't yet, we're going to go to the next page. All right. We're going to jump all the way down to number 7. Problem 7. First thing I'm going to do is look for a GCF. The smallest number is 3, so I'm thinking, what can I divide out? All of them by 3? Nope. But the only factors of 3 are 1 and 3. So if 3 doesn't work, 1's my only other number. And 1 is not really a GCF. Okay? The 8 doesn't have an x, so I can't take any variables. I'm just going to make a note. On this problem, there is no GCF. And that's okay. We're going to go straight to the double parentheses then. No GCF, no leftovers, just double parentheses, okay? I need a t, and I need my boxes, okay? On my t, make sure you're not using 8. We need 3 times 8 is 24. I'm going to zoom in real quick so I can write out all my factors. We're going to do 1 and 24, -1, -24. Again, remember, you can copy these down. With me, you can work ahead, or you can just listen and copy at the end. All right, so out of this pair, we're looking for which set is going to add up to a -10. Unfortunately, it's the very last pair, so you have to make the whole table. We're going to put those guys in our boxes, -4x, -6x, and we're going to use our first and last terms, 3x squared and an 8. Now, this one's a little bit trickier as you're trying to solve the box. The only way to make a 3x squared is with a 3. So our question is, does that 3 need to go on top? Can it help make the 4? No. So it has to go on the side. 3 can go into -6. He would need a -2 as his partner. That -2 can go into 8. It would need a -4 as his partner. And that still makes the -4x box work. Okay. Again, order of parentheses doesn't matter. I'm going to do 3x minus 4 first, and then x minus 2. There is no GCF out front, so that right there is my final answer. Okay. Perfect. Let's go to number 8. Number 8, again, first thing I look for, GCF. Smallest number I see is 2, so I'm going to try. Can 2 divide by both? Yes. And 2 also has an x, so I'm going to take that out. Zoom in just a little bit. Wow. All right, so if 2x gets divided out, that means I have 2x and then 25x squared. Now, those cancel, but you still need a term. So 2 divided by 2, make sure you keep a -1. Okay? I'm going to set up my GCF and my double parentheses for my answer. I'm going to get ready to make my t-chart. All right, t-chart is going to be -25 But again, because there is no middle, you are allowed to square root it. We're going to square root 25, and that gives us 5 and 5. No middle means I need them to cancel, so I make one of them negative. Let's go ahead and draw our box. Negative 5x and a 5x. I'm going to go ahead and make sure I only use my leftovers when I'm filling in my terms. We're going to use 25x squared and a negative 1, and then we can make the boxes work. Again, we square rooted, which means we want the pieces to be the same. So I'm not going to do 25 and 1, I'm going to do 5 and 5. Make sure they have x's with them. Now, when a 5x comes over here and multiplies, the only thing it needs is a 1. It's going to be a positive 1 because I'm making positive 5. Down on the bottom, when I'm making this one, his partner needs to be a negative 1. Make sure you always double check that your last box works. All right, order in the parentheses doesn't matter. I'm going to put 5x minus 1, 5x plus 1, and I make sure that my GCF of 2x is still on the outside. Okay? All right. Hopefully you feel like you have enough examples to go ahead and get started. Your assignment is 7.4. It's going to be on page 50 and 51. Here is my advice to you. Anytime there's no middle, make sure you're not doing a T-chart. You are just square rooting. Anytime you have a number bigger than 100, again, it's easier to just square root. If you have a number like 324 on the top of your T-chart and you're trying to make a negative 36x, go ahead and do that by square rooting, because when you do, and you get numbers like 18, even though that would make a positive 36, you can edit it to make it negative, okay? So take that into consideration as you're working this problem. Come see me if you have any questions. Good luck.